Yeah.
You must listen to this entire message before entering a selection. To accept this call, press 5. To refuse this call, hang up now. To block this call and all future calls, press 9. You may enter a selection now.
Since obviously there's space, he could be the one.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, hopefully. This is a good intro to get us like into the. You'll just start out with all that and then just be like, "Hi, welcome. We're already getting started."
Yeah, we already talked about everything. Sorry, y'all missed it.
Okay. Okay. So do you like? I'm just gonna let you take the reins on it. Because
Oh gosh.
Domain.
All right. Gosh, I'm nervous.
Why are you nervous?
I don't know. Because I'm gonna just like screw up his life.
Should have made a Google Doc. No, I'm just kidding.
I should have. I blew it. Okay, let's see. Benjamin's story. Let's see. Benjamin was born May 2nd, 1987. So he's like 2-3 months older than me. I believe he was born in Burlington. And then he kind of traveled, like, bounced back and forth between Iowa and Illinois because his dad, his non-biological dad, which I'll get to that in a second, Jason, is a lineman and so would kind of travel around for work after storms and all that stuff. Ben's real dad was Marvin McCoy. He died, I think, of. Sometimes I'm a bad listener when Benjamin tells me stories. So, I think he died like at a party from a cocaine overdose, and like nobody like helped him.
Wow.
If I remember right. Yeah, it was kind of sad. Well, I mean, it is sad. So Marvin is his biological dad. Cinnamon is his mom. She's a sweet little baby angel.
Her name is
yeah, her name's Cinnamon.
that.
Isn't that so cute? So then, yeah, Cinnamon married Jason, I don't know, maybe when Ben was like 2, 3. I don't know how long when they got married. And then Jason and Cinnamon have a daughter, Abby, which me and Abby were like friends growing up too. We actually, I think it was in like 2009 maybe, we went to the Justin Bieber concert together. So yeah, I've always kind of stayed connected with their family somehow.
Was that like Justin Bieber baby era? Like I'm trying to figure out.
Oh yeah, it was like baby, baby, baby. Yeah, I met Ben. I don't even know like the first time I met him. I know that we met in middle school. We would hang out at the pool. He would ride his bike over to my house, hang out with me and my mom, stuff like that. Had the biggest crush on him. He never believed me, all that stuff. And then we went to high school together. He was a really good wrestler. He made state like a couple times throughout. I know.
What did you do that? Do you know? No, I was just like, is he like, is he super skinny? I'm just curious. Like, that's so fast.
Yeah, he was skinny, and I mean, he's super tall too. I don't know. I'll have to ask him when he wrestled at, but he might even won state one. I don't know. I'm a bad listener. I'm a bad girlfriend.
Okay, it was.
That was like 20 years ago.
Yeah, he's an old man.
Literally. Yeah, and he was on like prom court. But like everybody loved him. Like once I like really started putting him out on like social media, so many of my friends reached out and like told me funny stories of like memories they had of him, and I was just like, that's still the goofy ass Benjamin that y'all know, that like he's still here. Like so yeah, that's pretty much his. I mean, like you said about Jake, like I don't think that their family was like overly wealthy, but they weren't like poor. They grew up pretty average, I think. So, yeah. And then he had gotten into some trouble growing up too. I think he has like a burglary charge, but nothing, no like felonies like this one or anything. So, yeah, it was in 2007. So it was 2 years after we graduated high school. And him and 3 other guys went to this kid TJ's house to rob him of weed because he's like a known drug dealer in my hometown. They had a pistol and they went in, all 4 of them did, and Ben and one of the other guys, I think it was, I don't know which one was in, I get all confused. It's such like a messy crime. So they went in, 2 of the guys went into TJ's room. Ben had the gun and started to like hit TJ on the head with it. And then he hit him 3 times. On the second time, the gun accidentally went off and shot TJ in the arm. So that's like a huge, like, crazy thing. And they did like ballistics and everything and saw that it was an accident.
Yeah, I'm sure it was shocking to both people at the time. They're like,
oh yeah. Well, I read in the case files that I have that TJ didn't even know he got shot. Like, nobody heard the gun go off. TJ didn't even know he was shot. I'm assuming because he got hit in the head with the gun.
Oh,
but
disoriented.
Yeah, I think just like disoriented. In the files that I read, he woke up to Ben like hitting him in with the gun, and then Ben got up and they ran out the door, and the other 2 guys, so 2 white guys, 2 black guys, I think the 2 black guys were TJ's dad was there because it was his like mobile home. And the 2 black guys were fighting with TJ's dad and had pepper sprayed him. And as they were running out, Ben was like, apparently it was Ben. Well, he told on himself basically, but said like, grab the gun, I shot TJ. And so they all ran out of the house and left. And so in the files that I read, TJ's dad called the ambulance, and TJ went and like took a shower and stuff. Like, he didn't even realize that he had been shot. I'm assuming just from like adrenaline or what, and I guess TJ's girlfriend was there. I wasn't aware of that at all until I got these case files. So I'm interested to like read and hear her interview since I have all the interviews, which is crazy. So yeah, and then the next day they went and arrested Ben. He was with 2 of his friends that didn't have anything to do with the robbery. They were smoking weed. The cops came and arrested Ben. Still knew, like, the cops knew when they arrested him, like, they came into the house and saw that they were smoking weed and that it smelled like marijuana. But they still decided that they were going to take him in for questioning. And they said that he didn't act intoxicated. I'm like, really? Because in any other circumstances, like, if he was like driving, they would have been like, you're really high, you shouldn't be driving. And it's like, oh, the time he's actually probably really high. You guys don't think he is, so you can question him. Okay.
And do they know him well enough at that point to judge what his baseline is of behavior? You know what I'm saying?
Right, exactly.
Like, this is how he usually is. He was acting like that. They don't know him.
Right.
Like,
no.
Everybody responds differently to different stimuli, so that's dumb.
Yeah. Yeah, and apparently they had like some like professional come in and say like, oh yeah, I've had all this experience with people who are intoxicated, whether it's like alcohol or weed or whatever the case may be, and he's not acting any different than anybody else who would just be nervous for getting interrogated for a felony.
Yeah, and like you said too, like if he was driving or something, and they pulled him over for an accident or whatever, he would get an operating while like intoxicated charge if they tested him and there was marijuana in the system, even if he wasn't high at the time, you know,
Right.
it would be in the system. They'd be able to like, they would still say that it was true. So
Exactly.
how can you, it needs to be like a standard, I would say, when it comes to that kind of thing. And like,
Yes.
as we know with weed, obviously, like, you don't smoke it and then it's out of your system the next day. Like, it stays in blood. So
right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yep, I mean, like I told you before, we were just kind of talking, and everything's just kind of messy. Like, there's a couple times where he asked for a lawyer, but kept talking, and they didn't like go out of the room to go and like fetch him a lawyer. I don't think he really understood like what his rights were, even though he said he did, because he was like incriminating himself, which I feel like you would only incriminate yourself if you didn't understand what was going on. And you wouldn't know what was going on because you're high. Like, I mean, I live in Colorado. I'm around high people all the time. Let me tell you, they have no idea what's going on most of the time. Like, so yeah, he got sentenced to first-degree robbery, which, the same as Jake, has a maximum time of 25 years, and with the mandatory minimum sentencing in Iowa, they have to serve 70% of that 25, which makes it 17 and a half years. And that's before they can even see the parole board. The parole board could easily just like lay them down and be like, nope, you're doing all 25 years.
Do you think that there's any reason why, you know, not, I don't want to sound negative, but do you think that there's a way that could happen? You know, is that a possibility? I don't know. I'm not familiar with it happening. Do most people get out on their mandatory minimum date?
I think so. I think you would have to be like pretty fucked up or do fucked up things to like have that extension, but I'm not really sure. I think most people do get out at their mandatory. But yeah, the other three guys, one of them, he got out of it because I think it was honestly because his dad's a doctor in Fort Madison, and they knew him. They knew like what car this kid drove and everything. Like, obviously he's a well-known person, probably more so in a good way than a bad, but I think he only got like, I don't know. I need like, I'm a visual person, so I need like see faces with names, and then they're like sentencing. So he got only like 30-day jail time and like fine, because he said he was a driver and that he didn't know that they were going to rob CJ.
Anybody else, no matter like, you know, it has to be a class thing at that point, because like we know of somebody who was a driver for, what was it, like a kidnapping or something
I think
along those
lines? I think if who we're talking about, he was an accomplice to a murder. Yeah. I think his buddy like murdered somebody, called him and was like, and the guy did not know a split of things. At least this is what I've heard. Didn't know anything at all. The buddy was like, hey, can you give me a ride? And our friend was like, yep, cool, see you soon, whatever. Went to pick him up, and then later found out that he had just murdered somebody. And then our little homie got like accomplice, and
he's in prison for life.
Yeah.
Because of that. That is so the discretion just drives me nuts.
I know. And then the other two, one guy got like 3rd-degree burglary, I think. One of the black kids that were like beating up TJ's dad. And then the other one got a lesser sentence too. Like, everybody got lesser sentences except for Ben. So I do know one of his co-defendants, Marquise, is actually got shot by the cops in Burlington in 2017, I think it was. That's what I don't understand too, is so like Marquise's case, he was pulled over by the cops for loud music. They obviously knew who he was because he had a record. He started running from the cops, and he had like this, I mean, you can YouTube it, it's crazy if you want to watch somebody die on camera. But yeah, he had like this little like lunchbox thing, and he was running, and they told him to, and he had a gun, and they're like, drop your weapon, whatever. Finally, he drops his weapon, and the cop had already shot at him like 5 times, and then shot at him like 2 more, and then the last one was like the fatal one. And then so that was one of Ben's co-defendants. And then they found his like little lunchbox, and it had like a scale and weed in it and everything like that. But that's what I don't understand too, is they know that TJ is a known drug dealer. So like, I know that they couldn't arrest TJ on like the robbery because that was a crime scene. But it's like, you know, he's still rolling around town slinging drugs. So like,
yeah,
what are y'all doing?
Did TJ get any sort of charge, like any possession charge, or he got nothing out of the whole thing?
There is an article that said he was, hold on, let me grab it.
You're so tiny.
My handy dandy notebook.
It's so cute. Oh my goodness.
Those are all his robbery interview. Mm-hmm. They talked to all these people. Anyway, so this says, okay, this is an article from November 12th, 2008. Says former shooting victim arrested on drug charge. Timothy T.J. Wiles Jr. was a victim in a botched robbery. I'm like, obviously it was botched, otherwise they would have gotten. Anyway, last December so Ben's crime happened in December of 2007. Kind of weird that they both had like winter crimes.
That is weird. Is that the time to rob people, I guess?
I guess.
There's nothing
I don't want to go out in the cold.
I know, yeah. Like, stay at home.
What are you guys doing, you freaking weirdos? When 4 men barged into his rural Des Moines County home looking for drugs and money, he was shot in the arm during the incident. Things had turned sharply Friday for the 21-year-old shooting victim after being arrested for possession with intent to deliver marijuana. He was also arrested on an outstanding Des Moines County warrant for second-degree theft. The Narcotics Task Force investigated. Knowing the man from previous dealings, agents soon learned Wiles had an outstanding warrant on theft charge. After arresting Wiles, agents searched the vehicle and found several plastic bags of marijuana, which agents say were packaged for street sale. The total weight was in excess of 11 grams, according to court records. Theft charge, authorities say, was in connection with a stolen four-wheeler found in possession sometime in August. And then at the time, 4 men, things were different for Wiles last December. At the time, 4 men, 3 of whom were identified as Andrew Graham Trousel-Bagan, 20, Benjamin Crabb, they have him listed as 21, but by that time he was 21. Mm-hmm. He committed the crime when he was, so he had just turned 20, so basically 19, 20-ish. 18-year-old high school student Marquise Rashad Jones, which is his buddy that got shot by the cops. So same thing with him. He was still in high school.
That is so crazy to me.
The Andrew Bagan was found guilty of a lesser charge of simple assault instead of a forcible felony of first-degree robbery.
Interesting. So my question too, and I don't know if you really want to delve into this at all, but I could be wrong, and Jake could be wrong too, but if I'm remembering what Jake had told me is that Ben has been to prison before this charge.
On the burglary charge, I believe.
Okay.
He was in Fort Dodge for like 6 months, maybe 9 months.
Not long at all.
Yeah.
So do
and
you
him and
Go ahead.
I think him and TJ did time together in Oakdale. That's kind of how they, besides knowing each other from Burlington, they really got connected in the drug crime ring when they did time together in Oakdale.
Interesting. So do you think that, him having like that charge beforehand had any playing in his conviction again? Like, you know what I mean? Did they elevate his charge because he'd already, been to prison before? He'd already had this history?
Yeah, I understand that. But kind of with Jake too. It was like, it wasn't like a forcible felony. It was just like, not to say burglary is good, not to say any of it is good. Let's make that clear again, like from your episode. But so yeah, I mean, yeah, he had a record, but he didn't like endanger anybody, and he didn't, he didn't even mean to shoot TJ. He doesn't have like that kind of personality where he's like, yeah, he might be a little bit aggressive, but like he's not really willing to hurt anybody, especially over something as like simple as like drugs and money.
Sure.
So I think it was kind of the same thing as like Jake's, where I don't think they really cared if TJ was there or not, but they went in there regardless of it. And I don't think that they meant to hurt anybody. Maybe fight like they did with TJ's dad, but I don't think that, it was, I think, supposed to be more scare tactics than anything.
Yeah. And there were 4 of them, you know what I mean? And compared to like the 2 people that could have been in the house, they knew that they weren't going to be up against a bunch of other people and have to resort to shooting or violence in that sort of way, because there's power in numbers in that regard, that if there's more of them, they can, kind of take control of the situation. I know you had mentioned that TJ's dad is the one that called the police, right? It was him that called. Do you think that like if TJ had not been shot, that like any of this would have happened? Because I think, to me, what I'm kind of just like getting off of feeling is that like I don't think TJ was okay with it, but again, I think he kind of understood the risks that come with being like a drug dealer in town.
Yeah. I don't think his dad would have called. I think it would have just been like brushed under the table and dealt with in the streets. And that's why I tell Ben all the time, I'm like, I know you have to do all these years, but I really believe prison saved your life.
Yeah.
Because like for that example right there, like if the cops weren't able to come in and handle it, then who knows if TJ would have like had any backlash and went after Ben or any of the guys and been like, you tried to rob me.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I mean, obviously too, his co-defendant wasn't living the best life after the fact, he's making the right choices. He didn't have that kind of transformative experience of prison to set him on his path, right? So I think you're right in saying that like it was kind of a good thing for Ben to go to prison, but he's done now. He can come home. Like he's earned it. Like we're past it. He can come back.
Yeah. And that's, we kind of talked about that in Jake's story too. And it's like, we're not saying that they didn't deserve what the sentencing, or they didn't deserve the sentencing that they received. They deserve to go to prison, hands down. Like, absolutely. Should you be sentenced to prison for 17 and a half years when child molesters and rapists and stuff like that get out way before?
And there's this charge that's called voluntary manslaughter. I'm like, a voluntary accident.
Yes.
Like that does not make sense to me. And the fact that manslaughter means that somebody did in fact die. Like they are dead. It is an action that happened, and it's only punishable for 10 years, but, like, the potential of a robbery is what gets sentenced. Does that make sense? Like, it's so stupid. There was a kid, and, I mean, I don't want to get, like, too off on a tangent where, but it is so fascinating to hear all of the, like, the different cases. You're like, and they got less time. So there's this kid who, from my hometown, he got into a fight with some other guy, showed up to his house. They were fighting, and one of the kids pulled a knife, stabbed him. And he was facing first-degree murder charges, and he got voluntary manslaughter. He was tried of voluntary manslaughter, and he's going to do maybe, like, 6 years. And that person is dead. Like, they are dead, and they got into a fight. They both had, you know what I'm saying? I don't understand why that is something that is not as big of a deal in the eyes of the law. That makes no sense to me. And, like, in our situations, yes, TJ got shot. You know, that is, he got shot. He wasn't, he's fine, by the way, right? Like, he's good.
Yeah, he's still rolling in the streets. Like, he is so good.
He's so fine. He lives his life. And, like, you know, in Jake's situation, his victims were never even touched. Nobody even, like, put hands on them. There was nothing, you know? And so that's just crazy to me that somebody can voluntarily stab another person and not have to do as much time.
No.
What? Yeah. I don't get it. Oh, it drives me crazy.
Literally insane.
I don't understand it either. But yeah, you're right. If it had gone a different way, like, I wonder too if Ben would have been charged on robbery and manslaughter, or if they would have, like, tried to bump it up to murder, or you know what I mean? Like,
well, they actually tried to charge him with 2 first-degree robbery charges, one for TJ, one for his dad, and then I think 3rd-degree burglary, which is interesting too, that you would get a burglary charge. They didn't even take anything. They didn't take drugs. They didn't take money. They didn't take anything. So then the only fight that Ben really, like, was able to, like, stand his ground on for that was, which makes total sense, is, like, if you go into a bank, like, we have friends that have robbed banks. If you go in a bank and you rob a bank and say there's 15 people in the bank at the time, you're not robbing all those 15 people. Like, you don't get charged 15 times. You get charged once for robbing the bank. And so that was, like, the point that Ben made. And so they're like, pretty much like, oh, damn, you're right. Like, okay. They did a plea deal or something. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out how shit works. But they did 1 first-degree robbery charges and dismissed the other 2.
Mm-hmm. So did he have to go, like, in front of a jury?
I don't think so.
Okay, so then, yeah, he did. He pled guilty to it then, right? That's what I'm under. So that he could get lesser sentence of the... Oh, he pled guilty and still has to do 17 and a half years. That's crazy. Like, I don't know if this is the point of plea deals, but most of the time it's so that you don't have to go to trial and you get a lesser charge. But the fact that lesser charge still carries the time that it does, oh my God, that's crazy.
I know.
I think if there's any other... Because, like, so has Ben... I'm sure he has, because Kelly, my friend, again, I had to ask, like, have Ben and Jake reflected on their crimes? Like, did Ben explain to you ever, like, what was going on in his mind that he felt he needed to do that? Like, what was his mentality?
Not really. I just kind of, like, let go, because I just don't want to ever, like, bring up bad memories for him.
It's hard. It is, and it's like you almost feel, at least I do anyways, you kind of feel like that's not even the same person. So it's like, and it's in the past, it doesn't change, but I just still think it's interesting, you know, from the psychological perspective of, like, what the frick were you thinking? Like, I don't know, like, at all what he was thinking, but I know, like, I know he regrets it. I know he wishes he could change it. I mean, but I'm like, you can't change it, and it probably saved your life. So just keep moving forward. Sure.
So, he went to Fort Madison, did, like, 5 years there, I think, and then got transferred to Fort Dodge.
Mm-hmm. Did he initiate the transfer, or did he just get transferred? I don't know.
I think he just got transferred.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure.
I mean, it's good though, because Fort Dodge is a medium security prison, I believe, and then, like you said,
yeah, it's like
max.
Medium minimum, I think.
Yeah, so that's good, because then, I mean, I don't really know. I don't have experience, obviously, with, like, maximum securities, but, like, you would think that going down and having a little bit more freedom would be nice, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, basically, yeah, that's it. He's been in prison now for 13 years. Well, basically, unless I can find something, like, real crazy in all these files, or they change mandatory minimums this coming year, guess he's just gonna have to ride his time.
Yeah, what is he like? So I went off on like a huge spiel because Jake is very proud of himself about all the things that he's done. But like, what are some of the highlights of?
I know, I'm like sitting here talking about like his crime, and I'm like, but he's great.
He's great. I love him to death, though.
I love him to death. Let me tell you all about his crime.
Yeah. No, like, yeah. What's his highlight?
Okay, so he started to get his associates through Iowa Central, and he would have been done like this coming spring, but COVID freaked things up.
Yeah,
I don't know. He doesn't have like a lot of like certifications and stuff like Jake does, which I mean it's fine. But I was just proud of him that he wanted to go back and get his associate's degree.
For sure.
And he really like takes it upon himself to like, he reads a lot of like medical books, and he reads a lot of finance. He's really big into like finance and making money and banking and stocks and all that stuff. Like he probably knows just as much as like a banker, like a personal banker, or anybody that like works at a bank. Like he's like, okay, so babe, you need to go and put this much money in this kind of account. And I'm like, and then the interest rate will be this and that. And I'm like, can we just do this when you get home? Because I don't know. I'm scared. I know how to spend money. That's about it.
Me too.
I don't know anything else.
Good though.
And then he always says that if he gets out within like, because he's 33 now, so if he would to be able to get out in like the next 2 years, since he has always like wrestled, he also is big into like kind of like sports medicine too. Like he wants to know how to like train. He works out crazy. He sent me pictures when we first started dating of like, he was ridiculously in shape, and I was like, I don't deserve somebody that looks like you. Like, I know, I'm like, I'll be back. I'm gonna go do some freaking sit-ups and squats. Bye. He looks like he's ready to fight MMA. Oh like, I'll have to show you. It's very impressive, but it's like very like, it makes me blush.
That's cute. Oh my god. You're like, that's all mine.
That's all mine. Nobody touch it. He's like, please post that on Instagram so I can get my clout. And I was like, hell no.
You're like, we're not.
No. Says like in the next 2 years, if he could get out, then he would like really like to either train for like MMA.
Oh.
Yeah.
What's the deal with the next few years? Like, does he think that after that
I think he thinks he's just like too old.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I'm like,
but prison,
I don't know,
baby. Like he's gonna be in the best shape ever because that's all he does.
I know.
I mean, he's gonna be able to keep up with those young bucks or whatever.
Yeah, but I think he would want to do something like finance or business or something like that. He's really good, and he is also very like, I would say that he's like so suave because he is. I don't know how, like he's just so personable that like he would be like the greatest salesman because he could just be like, oh, you don't want this? Oh, okay. Well, and then people are like, no, I want it. You know?
Yeah,
how do you do that?
Yeah, that's crazy. That's like what he thinks he wants.
Charismatic. That's a good word for it.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Ben is in the finances and business. That's a good. There's always jobs in that. There's like.
Oh yeah.
You know, you can do anything in there. So that's cool. That's exciting. So like his family, we've talked about just like a little bit. I know that like you are, I mean, no offense to his family, you are his like biggest support, honestly, right?
Yeah.
Like, you guys talk every day, whatever, you know. So just from the little bit that you and I have discussed already, I know that his family, you know, it sounds like they're working on a relationship a little bit more at times, but like, how did that all happen within his family, like, after his
Yeah,
crime?
I think they had always like been there for him. Yeah, Ben has told me that like probably 5-6 years ago now, when his grandpa passed away, that kind of was he was kind of like the mold of the family, kept everybody together, kept everybody in line. So when he passed away, things just got a little like crazy, and I think his grandpa Ray did like a really good job of making sure everybody like supported him and stayed in contact with him. His grandpa would go up there as often as he could to like see him. But so yeah, when he passed away, things just kind of like, I think people just got into their own ways and everything. And I mean, his mom like tells me all the time, like, we're so thankful that you came into his life like when you did. And you know, we kind of discussed that because she has stepped away a lot, and I don't blame her. She had like lots of health issues going on, and so I mean, she had a lot on her plate too. But it was just one of those things where it was like, thank God you're here. I could really use the help to like help take care of Ben.
Yeah,
Kind of.
there is sort of that like role, you know, you obviously don't want to be his mom. It's a very different,
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
no, there's like, you know, but like it does when it's like people talk about that all the time out here too, about how like, you know, the passing off of a son to the girlfriend or whatever is, I don't want to say like ritualistic in a sense,
Right.
like you do kind of, it's just that like feminine energy, I think, that kind of takes over.
Right.
And our natural feminine energy is to like protect and take care of and nurture. So you do kind of take away some of that responsibility from a mom. Right?
You know, Ben was really close with his cousin Carly, which they grew up. Carly and Abby are like the same age, so they all were like siblings basically. And so Carly was really good at being there for him too. But then she got married, had a kid. She has another baby on the way, which they're naming the baby Benson, and they're gonna call her Benny. And she like messaged me. She was like, "I wouldn't love that name so much if it wasn't for Ben." No, it's like,
so cute.
No, that's so cute. So I think they were like very thankful that like I took over, which is fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't mind. So he depends on his dad a lot too. Like me and his dad are like the top-notch people. For the record, if anybody wants to know, he is like 6'3". I'm 5'4". So it's like legitimately like a whole foot taller than me.
Cutie.
And I know you said like when you meet Jake, because you're tall,
Yeah.
and Jake's not the tallest, you're like, I'm scared that it's gonna be like you and Benjamin. But really, you and Jake are only like what, like 2-3 inches apart.
Yeah,
not
that's what he says. How do I know? You know,
but
so what? It's true. He told me a freaking funny story, and I think I've told you this already. Jake said that the first time that like I come to show up, he's gonna get a little step stool so he can like get up and give you a kiss, and I would be so embarrassed. I was like, if you do that, I'll turn around and walk out. Visit.
Yeah.
I don't care. I still have in my head that it is gonna be like that, where
I'll just like a whole
down here.
But
yeah. That's great. And you're right, it's the hair too. Like if you wore your hair down, it would be even more noticeable. And it's weird too because you have such a big like personality and such big energy that to know that you're like this tiny little fireball is hilarious.
Here's a better.
Yeah.
I'm like sick in that picture, so I go like barely to his shoulders.
Oh my
goodness, crazy.
That is so funny. But yeah, no, Ben is a character, and he's What's your other? Okay, last question. Before I mean, I feel like I've covered all my ducks. So like, and if Jake's answer for this is obviously, you know, I don't know what changed, but like, what makes you so confident that Ben is going to be good when he gets out? You know what I mean? Like, what is it? What's the thing that made him change? If there is anything, was there like an experience or?
I think he just would never, like, he doesn't want to do the time anymore. Like I know he's changed because he knows he physically and mentally cannot handle prison anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I just know too, what makes me confident is just the like goals and things that he misses up from being on the world that I know he won't ever take for granted. I remember the first time, and it broke my heart. One of the first times I talked to him, he said, one of the things I miss most about being in the world, he goes, opening up a refrigerator. I was like, what? Really? He's like, I just miss having the luxury of just opening it up and just looking to like see what food it is and closing it. And I was like, yeah. And then like 5 minutes later, opening it up again.
Yeah.
But he's like, and he was like, he tells me all the time, like, I can't wait to pay bills. And these are things that we like take for granted or don't want to do. And it's like, these are the things he like looks forward to. And it's like, what?
Yeah, I know. It's weird. And again, and I think we've talked about this a little bit. I don't know if any of it's actually been made into the podcast at all, but we have talked about it a couple. Like, I don't know if we edited out of it. But we talk about, you first brought it up, that it's like, I talked about like the childlike sense of wonder with the world because they've been institutionalized for so long, that it's like their mentality of relationships, their mentality of the way that the world is so innocent in a sense, which is weird.
Yeah, it's so pure.
It's contradictory to their circumstances that it's innocent.
Yeah.
Because they have this side of things that we'll never experience.
Right.
But then their basic everyday things that we do and take for granted, they're like, oh my God. Like
I can't wait for that. I forgot what that feels like.
Like put my own clothes in a washing machine. Like, you know what
I
mean? It's just, yeah. So that's so fascinating. And it's exciting to know that like we're going to get to be the people that like reintroduce that to them. And then I think that it'll help us too when they're out to like really appreciate the world around us. I think that they does that for me in a sense where I'm like, you're right. Like I do this every day and I don't even know what I would do without it. But
right.
Yeah, they're going to.
I know. Mm-hmm. I asked Ben recently, I said, what? Because he always talks about too, like how he wants home cooked meals. Like that's all he wants. He's never gonna eat out. Yeah. And some guy, he was just telling me some guy was in there on Boone unit with him and was like, yeah, when you get out, you're gonna go to all these restaurants and try all this food. And Ben's like, I'm gonna be at home cooking my own food. Like I want to cook my own food on my own damn like stove and grill and go to the grocery store and be able to pick out all the fruits and veggies I want. And so yeah, he was like, first, I was like, what do you think your first meal is going to be when you get out? And he's like, fruit. He's like, we don't get a lot of fruit in here.
Yeah. It's like fresh produce. That's something.
Yeah.
Sounds good. The eggs that they get in there too. I love eggs. I eat eggs every day. But like they have to have just hard boiled eggs. That's it. You know, they're going to be able to like eat an egg, go put it, like crack an egg. I don't crack an egg like this. I don't know anybody that does, but we're gonna crack an egg. That tells you my cooking.
Yeah, crack an egg.
But yeah, no, they get to just do that. That's a good question though. I've never asked Jake that. What do you first want?
Yeah,
is that like just to eat?
And just to kind of go back, like reminiscing, not like for them, like reminiscent, and just like that pureness. Another way I like to put in for like how long Ben's been in prison, 13 years, and since 2007, and people are like, oh, okay. I'm like, his last phone was a Motorola Razr phone.
Yeah.
Think back of all the phones that we've had. We've had iPhones, and Blackberries, and freaking like Galaxies. Like we've had touchscreens, like slide up, like he had a flip phone.
Yeah.
You couldn't get internet on it. It was
when you would hit the internet button, you would hit the internet button, you're like, oh my God, X.
No, my mom's gonna get me go.
It's gonna charge me so much, but now it's like internet, all right. And they don't know that. Like I'm sure they obviously they know that is the way that smartphones are, but they've never experienced that they're just like, yeah, I want to open it. That's wild.
And then just like explaining like social media to them.
Mm-hmm.
They know for the most part like what Instagram and Twitter are because they talk about that stuff like on the news and Facebook, but like they'll pull up tweets and whatnot, but like explaining anything else like Pinterest or even like Tinder or Bumble or anything like that. Like, they're just like, first of all, they're even then, like, guys in prison are like, why are you meeting people off the internet?
Yeah, they're like, that doesn't sound very safe.
That doesn't sound very safe.
They're like, you're gonna
And
get
you're
in
like,
a car in an Uber with a random person that you trust them to
yeah.
take you somewhere. Like,
Ben hates when I take Ubers, and he hates when I stay in Airbnbs.
what?
Because he's just like, yeah, he's just like, that's like, because it's just such a foreign concept to him for, like you just said, like, somebody, just a stranger coming to pick you up, or a stranger staying at a stranger's house.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, yeah, it is kind of weird, but it's, I don't know, it's
When you think
what we
about
do now.
Yeah, that's gonna have to be another episode too, where we
Yeah.
all the stuff that they don't know. I don't know if Jake would be okay with me telling everybody all the dumb stuff he's asked me. But it's there. I mean, you can't blame him, you know?
No, I mean, they don't know.
For sure.
I mean, technology has changed within the past even 5 years. So 10 and 13, like, yeah, shit's got crazy.
Pretty much wraps everything up. What about, do you got anything else?
I don't think so.
Yeah. I think we should, you already did this on Instagram, but I think we should give a shout out to Ro Clausen and her husband, Adam.
Oh my gosh, I know.
That's crazy.
You know,
You tell the story. Go for it.
oh my gosh. Well, I had been following her for maybe like the past year. Nothing like super crazy. She has like a YouTube channel and everything too. Talks everything prison.
Mm-hmm.
And her husband was in federal prison, and he had, gosh, what was it? Robbery charges?
Yeah.
It was robbery charges and gun possession, and he had what,
37 years, 213.
37 or something, like 200 some odd years.
Mandatory minimum, right? Like
Mandatory minimum. Mm-hmm. And he fought it, and especially, well, they fought it, I should say. That it's incredible. She's been fighting that forever.
Literally,
yeah, I know. And she posted on her social media that on August 15th, he got compassionate release and time served, and he was able to like pretty much immediately come home.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, holy shit. And it just gave me like so much hope. Mm-hmm. Not even like, if Ben has to serve for like 4.5 years he has left, like, that's gonna suck. But even just someday, if they change the law, it's gonna just be a huge win for mandatory minimums, because that is the stupidest sentencing I've ever read about in my whole entire life. Her Instagram and everything, I think it's Strong Prison Wives.
Yeah, she has a 501c3 foundation. It's a nonprofit organization called Strong Prison Wives Foundation. And I'm not exactly sure the scope of what that foundation encompasses or what exactly their mission is, but I know that, like, I've seen her YouTube videos, I'm in her Facebook group, you know, that just provides support to, you know, prison wives. And it's just like, it's incredible. And she's so knowledgeable, like so kind too. Like, just, yeah. She's so bubbly and just like fun, and you root for her so hard, and you root for them so hard, because it's just one of like the biggest injustices that you see. And so I think that when Adam was released and we all saw it, like, I think everybody across the country, like in our situations, took it as a win, like for us too. Like, yeah, very absolutely. And I was like, so like, oh my God, like it was crazy.
I know. Yeah, like there's home, and it's so it makes me like want to cry because it's so amazing. Me too. I'm so happy for her, and like I posted that, and my best friend was just like, "That's gonna be you and Ben soon. Like, just don't give up hope." And I'm like, I know. Like, I just like always think about that feeling, and I'm just like, I can't wait for that. That's gonna be like so incredible. It's gonna be insane.
I know. Big
1 minute remaining.
We're so happy for you guys, and it's
incredible.
And everybody else, if you're interested more in, like, you know, obviously she has more experience in the federal system, so if you want to hear a little bit about her experience, and she's been doing it a long time, like, go check her out on YouTube, Instagram, whatever. But yeah, so it was just a win that we wanted to share.
I know, it felt good. It did.
Good news, which is exciting. So
I know.
Yeah, I guess that's it for today.
That's Ben's story.
Yeah, Ben's story is crazy. So now you've heard it all. And if you have any
Heard
questions,
it all.
yeah, if you have any questions,
Yeah.
let us know. Let us know what you think. Let us know if we're crazy or if we're just in love.
1 minute remaining.
Yeah, we might be.
That pretty much sums it up, huh?
So,
That's it. I think next week, I think we're going to talk about just like a day in the life, something a little bit less heavy, like less info,
yeah.
like less dense, I guess, of a topic, just to be like, this is what they do every day. Because I know that that's
Yeah, like pre-COVID.
yeah,
of course.
Because my friend Kendra, shout out to my friend Kendra too. She said, "What do they do? Like, I want to know like what a typical day in prison is like." And we'll tell you. Okay, well, we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.